I sing what was lost and dread what was won. I walk in a battle fought over again. My king, a lost king, and lost soldiers my men. Feet to the rising and setting may run. They always beat on the same small stone.
During the Cold War, the US and the Soviet Union struggled with their own economy whilst trying to go to the moon as the competition of the century. I intend to use this analog comparison to pick up where we left off with Greece. Last time I checked, Greece began to go through a crisis that brought hardship to people and businesses alike. It was this struggle that brought me to this country 3 times over the course of 3 years. While experts were arguing about technicalities, newspapers and television stations slowly forgot about Greece. I took it upon myself the task to ask people. When it comes to wars, for instance, we often see numbers: 10,000 dead, 5 million injured, many people became homeless. But what does this mean? Do we actually see beyond the numbers? What if we put names to each and imagine they are relatives, parents, and children, rich, middle class, poor, and so on? Most people are not politicians. It would also be foolish of me to ask rich people how they are affected by the crisis. Answers would vary, but most would be, "This year I couldn't buy the new Ferrari model." Poor people can become poorer. Middle class can become poor. This is my plan. It is what I'm interested in. People. It is important to know the big picture. Therefore, it is quite a logical step to review all the big changes Greece went through so far. BBC has a great timeline starting from 1821. I'm not entirely sure we should go back that far. However, 2004 August, Athens hosts Olympic Games. 2004 December, European Commission issues formal warning after Greece found to have falsified budget deficit data in run-up to joining Eurozone. 2005 December. Amid protest strikes by transport workers, Parliament approves changes to labour laws, including an end to jobs for life in the public sector. The plans sparked industrial action in June. 2008 December. Students and young people take to city streets in nationwide protests and riots over the police killing of a 15-year-old boy in Athens. Major public sector strikes coincide to increase pressure on the government over its economic policies. 2010 April and May. Fears of a possible default on Greece's debts prompt Eurozone countries to approve a $145 billion rescue package for the country in return for a round of even more austerity measures. 2012 February. Against a background of violent protests on the streets of Athens, the Greek parliament approves a new package of tough austerity measures agreed with the EU as the price of a €130 billion bailout. 2013 January. Unemployment rises to 26%, the highest rate in the EU. 2015 January. Alexis Tsipras of Syriza becomes Prime Minister after winning parliamentary elections and forms a coalition with the nationalist Independent Greeks Party. 2015 June and July. European Central Bank ends emergency funding. Greece closes banks and imposes capital controls. Voters overwhelmingly reject EU bailout terms in July referendum. 2015 August. Greece and its creditors agree a third bailout, imposing further spending cuts on the countries to avoid bankruptcy and exit from the Eurozone. And that's where we are right now. Greeks hate Tsipras, thinking he is a traitor. He promised no to bailout terms and delivered yes. As I was sitting in my friend's apartment eating, the television said, Tsipras has just resigned. It was surprising. I come from a country where we re-elect those who are not worthy of leading in the eyes of the people, whilst in Greece they chose different leaders when they are not satisfied. I think my story starts with a little, mostly unknown YouTube series about learning Hungarian. Once, I was a little bored and looking for new projects. I came up with the idea of making some videos on YouTube about teaching some good old Hungarian. Then I waited and waited and waited. After a while it became somewhat popular. Popular enough for a certain future friend to contact me, who lives in Greece. Long story short, we became friends, and I was notified about the crisis over there. It's not that I hadn't heard about it already, but someone who lives there can always give a more valuable insight. So strange. Right, so here's Tsipras, and what did he promise? Alexis Tsipras, born in 1974, is a Greek politician who served as Prime Minister of Greece from the 26th of January 2015 to 27 August, and the leader of the left-wing Syriza party since 2009. He was first elected to the Greek parliament in 2009 and was the party of the European left nominee for President of the European Commission in the 2014 European Parliament election. On 15th of January, Tsipras led Syriza to victory in a snap general election, receiving 36% of the vote and 149 out of the 300 seats in the parliament, and went on to become the 186th Prime Minister of Greece. Holy cow, 186! Sorry. In 2015, he was voted by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people globally. On the 20th of August 2015, 7 months into his term as Prime Minister, still 186. Hungary has only had 56. Anyways, it might be interesting to note that currently, at the time of making this film, there is an incumbent Prime Minister, the first female in history, Vasiliki Tano Christophilou, or something. She is a Greek judge who has been, in an interim capacity, the Prime Minister of Greece since the 27th of August 2015. She has been the President of the Court of Cassation, one of Greece's 3 Supreme Courts since the 1st of July 2015, and is currently the most senior judge in Greece. I went there many years before this film to make my first full-length documentary about the crisis, which seemed like a cool topic. I mean, it's not that the suffering of people would be cool or anything. I mean, it's important, but you know what I meant. Anyway, I went to Greece because I was interested. It was winter. Now it's summer. It's time to go to some beaches. When it comes to making a film, most filmmakers have some sort of agenda. You have to go in with an idea. Otherwise you won't get a controversial documentary. Controversy is key to sell your product. Wait. So are we talking about selling something, or are we talking about the people of Greece? Okay, I think I would rather talk about the people for now. So anyway, I was thinking, I go to Greece, I look at things. I mean, I'm not Kim Jong-il, bless his immortal soul, I'm just Chris. People don't care about my opinion. It's incredibly subjective at best. I can't go everywhere in Greece. I don't have unlimited time and money. In my lovely Hungarian culture, and probably in many other, one would even argue about why on earth I would make a film if I don't actually have the budget for it. Well, luckily there is a thing called internet. It's very new, very hip, very cool. Although I knew it before it was cool, so technically I'm a hipster of the internet. But I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat. Never mind. I'm going to present you some interviews I conducted with people from all around the world. They'll be respectfully represented by cows. Here we go.
To be honest, this and similar financial stuff doesn't interest me, and I'm not even an expert. In my opinion, that if a country goes bankrupt or otherwise become unable to pay its debts, makes the biggest mistake when getting more loans because you have to pay interest on it. While, for example, in Hungary and surrounding countries pension is about 400 euros, in Greece it's about 7,800. I believe that Greek people and other southern people in general are lazy, and their first priority is not working hard. Some time ago the EU was an economical group, But it is no longer just that. I believe it just can't work like this for any longer. You can't just put Greece, Romania and Bulgaria together with Sweden and the Netherlands in one group. An alliance of regions would much more useful, for example Albania, West Balkan, Benelux states, etc.
Well, that seems all fantastic. Now, there is only one question left. What is Syriza? Okay, the coalition of the radical left, mostly known by the backronym Syriza, a Greek adverb meaning from the roots or radically, is a left-wing political party in Greece, originally founded in 2004 as a coalition of left-wing and radical left parties. It is the largest party in the Hellenic Parliament, with party chairman Alexis Tsipras. Well, not anymore, or something. So then, will they come back in the next elections? Is there an alternative? Well, I think we have to ask some more questions. Political parties of Greece. Syriza. Well, we have already talked about this one. New Democracy. It commits to keeping the country in the Eurozone and pushing ahead with plans to secure EU EMF bailout funds. Independent Greeks. A right-wing anti-bailout party formed as the New Democracy splinter in 2012. The River is a moderate centre-left party formed in 2014. It is firmly pro-European, and its leader said he was prepared to go into coalition with another party as long as it pledges to combat corruption and keep Greece firmly in the Eurozone. Movement of Democratic Socialists. Its leader, George Papandreou, is the grandson of Andreas Papandreou, who dominated Greek politics for decades. He established it on the 3rd of January in 2015 after splitting from the Pan-Hellenic Socialist Movement. Greek Communist Party is next. Greece's civil war ended in 1949 with the defeat of the Communist Party of Greece, and it was banned from politics until 1974. It has grown its vote in recent years while holding on to its traditional democratic base. Many workers are lifelong communists, and it is expected to win parliamentary seats. Pan-Hellenic Socialist Movement. The centre-left party dominated Greek politics in the post-World War II period and led Greece at the height of the Eurozone crisis. George Papandreou was forced to quit as Prime Minister in November 2011 amid the government debt crisis and later resigned as PASOK leader. Golden Dawn. Feared by many as neo-Nazis, Golden Dawn nevertheless gained substantial support during the economic crisis. members have been accused of perpetrating attacks on foreigners and political opponents.
I only see about some headlines, like from Hungarian websites, but I don't go into details. Last thing I heard that they signed some sort of arrangement. I don't know what it was about.
It became clear to me that I would have no luck asking experts or politicians on any subject related to complex everyday situations like the crisis. So then I decided to ask the next best thing: gods. Or, in particular, those 12 that live on Mount Olympus, supposedly. I know that probably a god might not be the perfect person to ask, but I was thinking that anybody at home would suffice. So I drove to the foot of the mountain and started climbing up. At first, it seemed gently steep. Some curves here and there, nothing special. Then I left the touristic area and it became clear that I might not make it up there. And that, of course, could be regarded as an exaggeration, but you have to remember that I'm a stupid, lazy, everyday citizen. So, without rails next to a cliff, I might just go down and die. Yeah, but nobody said that going up Mount Olympus is easy, and it's not every day that people wish to ask questions. So yeah. Exactly. While not paying attention to the road, we could take a little detour and learn more about the real-world application of Mount Olympus. I read that the history of Mount Olympus has been turbulent. Its surrounding area was not only a sacred shrine, but also a battlefield for the control of the Axis from Thessaly to Macedonia in ancient times. As I was talking to someone having their own business for quite a while now, I found something very interesting. He mentioned in Greece there is much freedom. What could that mean? I asked. Well, he explained he went to Northern European countries, found that there are thousands of rules and regulations. Every aspect of life is carefully regulated and controlled. rules are great. Some like them, some can't live without them. I'm sure all this depends on culture and habits. However, what if the rules meet freedom? What a collision! Nobody likes change, especially negative change. If you tell a person they are going to earn less, they'll rage. Some time ago, Hungary issued a law that most stores must be closed on Sundays. This extreme inconvenience caused a lot of disturbance. You see, my distant friend, people have this strange relationship with freedom. They wish to not care about it until it's threatened. When that happens, there is outrage, war, perhaps calm sad acceptance. In my experience, the human brain, much like any other muscle in our body, is lazy and gets tired a lot. Although it's harder to see how Mr. Brain gets tired. When one can't move one's leg, one cannot climb stairs. When one's brain gets tired, one can still watch TV. The problem with freedom, it seems, is that not all of us can have it without stepping on each other's toes. Of course, the existence of freedom is not a problem, but the problem is that we always want more. In a modern society, ideally, because of the focus on freedom, democratic so-called regimes are inherently concerned with the quality of life for their citizens. A society in which everybody is important and no one is left behind. We are bound to be slow when it comes to progress. Remember, 500 years ago, the American continent was barely discovered. On the other hand, Egyptian culture is more than 8,000 years old, and it seems that our planet is billions of years old. Compared to that time, the suffering of one generation is nothing, and, foolishly, the suffering of this generation of Greek citizens could even be belittled.
Yes. Everywhere. Friends, parents, news especially. They discuss it pretty often. Some of them agree with Greece, some of them don't. They say Greece did a dirty agreement, and now they couldn't pay it back. Getting the loans. joining Eurozone was good for them. Unfortunately, it seems they can't keep up with it. I think they could have gone through bankruptcy, but then the rise should be welcome. Whether it is accepting the new agreement or getting up slowly from the ground. Yes, I think some of them, if not mostly, are lazy indeed. I went to Greece myself and I saw them opening their shops late, drinking coffee all day, relaxing maybe too much. I can't say Greece is all like that. There are hard-working people everywhere. Loans were a good way to maintain their routine, I guess.
But I digress. The key to a happy society should be education, leisure, and wealth. If everyone is rich and has plenty of time to relax and have fun, and if they are also educated, then it's easy to discuss issues. However, because there are only a few truly rich people and most citizens are very, very poor and uneducated, it's hard to discuss issues with reasoning. One foolish idea can spread through society very quickly and cause things like the Second World War. While it's true that we are all inherently human, we are not equal. At least, not yet. We aren't equal in wealth or in education. We aren't all beautiful and smart, and we don't all have all the skills that we desire. And while education is far more advanced than 100 years ago, there are still problems we can't overcome. Of course, in cases like my own country, the government doesn't aim to educate its citizens that much because of the before-mentioned spreading of ideas. Having healthy and educated and satisfied citizens is somehow never the goal of a government. An advanced government, such as the US government, has an education system where the rich can study quite easily, while the poor only have limited access to education. In Greece, however, they have universal education, universal healthcare, and all those things. They seemingly tried to build a system that would be ideal. And let's not forget that it is the birthplace of democracy. So expectations are quite high.
Well, not really. I believe that is something that they should have agreed upon with EU. I think they will not quit EU, but they will try to have a deal with EU, especially Germany, so that EU won't collapse. But I always have a tendency to think politics can be handled easily. but it doesn't work like that. I doubt it. We have our own crises here. Our value of money dropped a lot. So I don't think that the government is thinking about Greece, that if something happens that Turkey can gain about it, they will do it for sure. If Turks want to eat Greece up, we will start from the islands probably. Some islands were always a problem between us and Greece. Some Greek islands are so close to us, like we can see them when we are in Izmir etc., but we need visas to go to those, and this is utterly stupid. And in Turkish history they teach kids saying that Greece took them in an unfair way, so
It seems to me that everyone got together so they could build the perfect society. Salaries got higher and higher, healthcare and education got better and better, and then it broke down. Some say that it was because the citizens did not pay attention to the government and its corruption. However harsh that accusation is, it could be true. But can you blame everyday citizens when in a modern society their ultimate goal is to have freedom? Freedom, of course, means that they can do whatever they want. With that, we could even say that this is what they wanted. But that's just a play on words. No one would want this kind of suffering. Building a free society requires the cooperation of all citizens on a cultural level. We shouldn't have to pay attention to the government because it's not our job. Our job is to generate money through trade and through work. The government's job is to provide a secure environment in which it is possible to do this. Citizens should be protected from both outside and inside dangers. Ideally, they should be left alone so they can do the work they like. It is the government's cultural responsibility not to be corrupt and to act for the benefit of its people. But our ultimate human desire for control stands in the way of all this.
No, not so much. But we hear that they are in big trouble. And we joke about it. With the borrowed money, and then they don't want to pay. some understand and feel sorry, but the common opinion is it's their fault. Yes, well, they blame them for not taking care of the state economy. That they are not serious. Don't want to take responsibility. The people are not bad, but they need to be encouraged to take responsibility and care about the economy. The government has been corrupt, I think, and not thinking of the best for its people. Well, it is political. And I don't think Germany and friends would like them to go there. And I wouldn't look good on the EU. If Greece go bankrupt, nobody will gain on that.
That being said, most ancient Greeks probably never tried to climb Mount Olympus, because it was home to the Pantheon and the throne of Zeus, which was sacred. Although, if they climbed the second highest mountain top, to Mount Olympus, they would have had a clear view of the peak and probably wouldn't have seen anything related to gods. But again, why would you be able to see the gods with your naked eye? It's not meant for you. But I hope it is meant for me, so I can somehow have a quite spiritual experience and perhaps discover that the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Hopefully not 42, because I can't sell that. No. Even in the 1800s, people who considered themselves enlightened, such as archaeologists from different countries, were mostly kidnapped by cult members who were trying to protect the peak. Because, let's face it, climbing the mountain is a non-technical hike. Maybe the final section could be considered a bit harder, but it's nothing like Mount Everest. And I checked the temperatures. There is only about 2 to 5 degrees difference between the top and the foot of the mountain. So in any case, if I don't fall to my death, I'll be able to go up there and do something. Wait. We have just arrived. Very surprising. This doesn't seem like the top of the mountain. Oh, no, it's not. I would have to go on foot. That is unheard of. I'm way too lazy to do that. You will never catch me hiking to the top. That is outrageous. Let's see what's up here. Okay. There is a place where I can see the towns below. There is a shop and restaurant. Quite interesting. Wait. Oh no. I've heard stories about this, but I've never experienced such an encounter. Hey, are you Zeus by any chance? Or related to him?
I don't have enough knowledge to affirm on that, but looks like a bankruption and bad distribution of money for the Greeks. Well, some people are lazy, but not the entire country. That affirmation is too generic. By the way, history shows us they were a greatest nation for years. I think the cause of this is political and corruption of the government and industry working together to get people's hard-working money. I see Poland, for example. They wished to have euros for so long, and they weren't allowed to it. Now they have a nice own coin with some stable economy. I guess the euro is turning on pure speculation for powerful people to make money on it. I mean that in my mind, the euro idea is a good thing. Because countries can grow and help each other for a greater good. I'm not an economist, so I might be talking foolish. It was supposed to bring stability. But I guess some governments and big industries are taking advantage of this for make more money.
So, I've been told that Greeks are now having less babies, which is logical. If you are considered sane and responsible, you ask yourself, what kind of future can I provide for my children? One could argue that we can't know what is going to happen in 20 years, but why would anyone be required to have the ability to think in terms of decades? That is the government's job. They are the clever ones planning our future. Wait. So, at some point, I was browsing the net and researching stuff about Greece when I came across this article on Fox.com. This article was talking about the 9 questions you are too embarrassed to ask about the Greek crisis. It started with sentences such as Greece is falling apart, the unemployment rate is 25%, down from a peak of 28. That is mind-boggling. 28. I don't even have to go further than that. Now, that doesn't mean we won't do it. But right now, I'm just amazed by the fact that every 1 out of 4 Greek people are unemployed. Wow. Of course, that doesn't include people who are already retired, people who are too young to work, and these people are depending on those 75% in the workforce. Those are the only people that need to work, and those 25% and all the others just live off of these people, which would be fantastic, but somehow doesn't seem to be true because the economy is still struggling. So my conclusion is that 25% unemployment rate affects the economy very negatively. Not to mention that it seems that 4 in 10 children live in poverty in Greece, which alone answers the question, why do Greek people have less babies? The question is, how did they get here? But we're not here to have a history lesson. We just wish to know what caused this situation and why it went so bad. It's sort of common knowledge that the 2008 world financial crisis caused a lot of turmoil around the world. Experts repeatedly told us, ordinary citizens, that most of the problems were caused by the panic of ordinary citizens and investors, because in this day and age, in this capitalist world, everybody is trying to make money.
Well, here in Korea, there were some talks, but not a lot, unless Westerners talk to each other. Actually, my colleague is Irish, and his point of view is that Europe treats Greece the same way it treats Ireland. After watching different news programs, CNN, BBC, Lemon, Deutsche Welle, and a few YouTube explanations of the current situation of Greece, it seemed more like Greece got the shaft. Both sides had a right to make demands. But it seemed like Greece was forced to submit rather than be met with friendly terms. I don't think they are completely innocent, but I do think that they were forced to sign into an unfair contract. It's hard to say exactly who is right and where the blame should fall. But it seems like the Greeks made a mistake after being misled into a false sense of financial security. And to my understanding, an overly harsh penalty was placed upon them. Ha ha ha! Humanity is a funny species. That is up to the Greeks. They have ability to save themselves, but it's up to them to now make the sacrifices necessary to satisfy the new regulations they have submitted to. It totally depends on the people to either go with the new status quo or what my understanding of the situation is. A growing number of people in Greece just want to give up on the EU and start over. But I could be wrong.
But capitalism doesn't say that everybody is entitled to win. Usually out of 100 people, only one will hit the jackpot. They can then run a business and invest in things. But when a crisis hits, most of these people still want to win. And they wish their investments would return. So naturally, they either take their money out, put it somewhere else, put it in a pillow or something, which causes a very fragile capitalist economy to tumble and fall. What can we do in a situation like this? Naturally, investors are not always ordinary people out of that 100. But countries. And countries acting as people talk to each other. So if your neighbor is in need, even though capitalism doesn't say you have to help thy neighbor, out of your own self-interest, so you can sell them crap, you try to help them. In this case, Greece got a lot of bailout money from countries, but that caused a lot of resentment. So, we have arrived at the situation today, during the making of this film, where everybody is grumpy at each other, because either they borrowed money that they are struggling to pay back, or they lent money which they would really love to see returning to them. Since the citizens of Germany, France, the United Kingdom and all of these richer countries aren't working so that they can throw money at Greek people. They also wish to win the financial game of capitalism. This is happening in Europe, which not very long ago was struggling when it was trying to reunite after the fall of communism, which was a very different ideology that attempted to make people equal by abolishing any capitalist ideals. But it couldn't. And I know this very well because I was born in communist Hungary and saw the country changing throughout my childhood. Even though capitalism is not perfect, far from it, we still have not figured out how to run a country well, because capitalism is based on greed, while communism is based on honesty. They take what they need and only what they need. But people always say that they need everything.
About their crisis. It's hard to blame one for all of this. It's a mixture of corruption and bad leadership, and if you keep doing this, you'll end up in a situation. In the end, I feel sorry for the people in Greece. It's a bit of a lie thing, EU, Greece. And like you said correctly, I'm not the financial guy. But perhaps they could have been rough before letting them in for the UNFH euro. There's many to blame, that's why I'm really surprised by this. And a lot of people are so shocked with Greece, they could have seen it coming. In my opinion, it's logical. Sad but true, they need a lot of time to get over this. I know I would be with temperatures like I am in roads right now, but seriously, it's a totally different culture here, and I will not say they're lazy. I spoke with the waiter here and asked him, "Do you ever have a day off?" He replied, "No, because I work for my family at home and also for my mother." So he's working 7 days a week, more than 10 hours. And he's probably not the only one.
Yes, from the media. Negotiations regarding financial aid. As far as I know, an aid package has been approved. I'm not sure about the amount of money. Maybe 80 billion. I have never been to Greece, so I don't really have an opinion about Greek people. I have been to Spain multiple times. I envy their afternoon siesta. However, I would not say they are lazy.
Now, in Greece, people are unhappy with the situation, but instead of accepting the situation, they are trying to find a solution which results in the constant re-election of their newly elected governments. One after another get elected, promising solutions to all of these problems, and one after another fail because the problem seems quite big or unsolvable. And throughout this fight, the EU doesn't only have Greece to worry about, because Spain, Portugal and Ireland need help as well. These are all countries that recently joined the Eurozone. That can't be a coincidence. There is a mystery, and since you are stuck with me instead of Sherlock Holmes, I will try to figure out what's up. So let's do it, yo! Greece joined the Eurozone in 2001. They had 7 great years. They lied a little bit when it came to fulfilling the requirements to join the Eurozone, but I doubt that was a deal breaker. If you have a strong economy, you can overcome your problems and your weaknesses. After 7 fantastic years, the crisis happened, and it seemed that these countries, Ireland, Spain, Portugal and Greece, had such a fragile economy that, unlike France, Germany and the UK, they couldn't get back to their feet that easily. I have to put easily in heavy quotation marks, because as we all know, at least I think so, even Germany, the powerhouse of economy, suffered because of the 2008 crisis.
The only news that I hear a lot about economy and how everything is bad there. Because of huge debts and bad economy. But my friends who traveled there, like Greece, usually there is difference in regards of following Western or Russian media, but here I guess they're on the same page. I did hear that Greece government has to take austerity measures, about which people are not very happy. I think it is both the fault of their government and EU too. I view EU as a big country. It is kinda similar to US. And I think that big countries should follow what is happening in its states. I don't know, maybe government in EU is too focused on main countries that rule the EU as well as on interests of big corporations. While a local government usually thinks about holding their power, but not about people who live in that country. Well, the thing is that the whole economy in the world is kinda shaky and can go down at any moment. But I think they should try to resolve the crisis. Keep euro currency and stay in the EU. I think it is achievable. But can be hard and will require compromises. Well, I can't say for sure about laziness. But as I was in South Italy recently, it surprised me that most shops and even pharmacies have breaks from 13.00 till 16.00. Also, all pharmacies, cafes in my area became closed for 10-20-day vacation in August. But yeah, I didn't see that they worked very hard. For example, in supermarket in our country people work like 12 hours a day. But in southern Italy it seems like they change every 4 hours or so.
I read that if Greece didn't use the euro, it could have boosted its economy by printing more of its currency, the drachma. This could have lowered the value of the drachma in international markets, making Greek exports more competitive. It would have also lowered domestic interest rates, encouraging domestic investments and making it easier for Greek debtors to service their debts. Even though Greece would have been much poorer than before 2008, people would be encouraged to go there and invest in things, since the drachma would have been so cheap and you would have gotten so much for your very much valued euro or dollar that, in my opinion, it would have been worth it to go there. But since Greece has had the euro since 2001, that was impossible, and it still remains impossible. Even though Greece acts as powerful as Germany with the strong euro, it's much weaker, and they can't do a damn thing about it. Other than raising taxes and accepting bailout money on horrific terms, Greece has no other devices to use in this crisis. So then another question arises. Is it Europe's fault? And by Europe, I don't just mean countries like Germany, France or the UK. I mean the whole of Europe. The European Union that we are trying to make, which would bring countries closer and closer which in my opinion carries much importance, especially after the Second World War and the Cold War. Is everything that happens in the European Union the fault of all of the European Union countries combined into one big powerful union? Well, not entirely, because the EU has strict policies when it comes to finance. As an EU member, Greece was required to limit its deficits to 3% of the GDP and its debt to 60% of the GDP. Mind you that at this point, Greece's debt is at 177% of the GDP, which is clearly in violation of the EU laws. But I have heard that Greece enlisted banks like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase to evade their rules and borrow money under the radar to enable more spending. Of course, that is clearly Greece's government's fault. They tried to cheat the system, and perhaps they might have meant well.
I heard one guy at work talking about it. He didn't like Europe and pointed to Greece's economy as some sort of weird example of why. Well, as far as Europe, he just pointed to occupations and borders constantly changing. He said it was in a constant state of turmoil, and that anyone who wasn't from there and wanted to live there was an idiot. As far as Greece's economy, he said that the government was too soft, and that people retired at age 40, living off of the government, and that's why it's failing. Well, it's hard to have an opinion when I know so little. But I've heard people talk about similar reasons this guy said, and then my older sister sent me an article from the internet saying it was a big conspiracy theory, that some sort of banks were purposely ruining Greece. So, honestly, I don't know. I like to think it's possible if enough people took an interest. I'm not sure they can all by themselves. I can't say I have heard that. In fact, other than that guy, I've only ever heard good things about Greece. In my mind, it always seemed like a happy, peaceful place. I've just simply not heard anything about anyone being lazy.
So let's assume for a crazy moment that Greece's government wasn't corrupt and was only thinking about the good of the people. And so, in order to make the people happy, they needed to borrow more and more money, as an ordinary citizen would. They borrowed money from somewhere else when they ran out of money from the regular sources. To me, it's just like when your bank doesn't loan you money anymore because you have bad credit and you go to some shady place to borrow money from a friend of a friend who may or may not break your arms if you can't pay them back. However, at the moment of borrowing and receiving the money, everybody is happy. To me, it seems that however corrupt the government is, they didn't fail in making their citizens happy, even if it was for a very short period of time. It seemed alright at the time. Before 2008, the economy was booming. Everyone was happy, and the future seemed very bright. So why wouldn't they borrow a tiny bit more money so they could advance a lot faster? I imagine they borrowed all that money because they thought that in a couple of years the economy of Greece would be so strong that it wouldn't cause any trouble to pay back a little bit more each month. According to some sources, Greece's collapse into the crisis was caused by the global recession, which was bad enough that even countries like Spain, which was running a budget surplus before the crash, found themselves in a debt crisis. Of course, countries like Germany were greatly affected as well. Then, how about saying that it's all the United States' fault? But we are not here to make a villain out of a single country. That is because the crisis was ultimately caused by everyone involved in the global capitalist market. So, in a situation like that, with seemingly no better future ahead, I understand the lack of desire for babies. Sometimes it is important to step back a bit and look at your troubles from afar. This way you can be a little more objective. However, I know this is almost impossible to do so. It's not in our nature as humans to urge ourselves to be patient, discuss, calculate, and do research. That's why we have computers. Let them do the dirty work. Disregard emotions, be cold and calculating. Go, computers, go! Let us, humans, have all the emotions and fun. Anyways, my point is that it's cruel to expect Greeks to talk about their country without being passionate. They can do it though. So, let me introduce you, dear viewers, to some Greek people.
The last 6 years things are getting worse, which means that about business we pay new. And more taxes, also insurance is more expensive and of course affect us all, affect our lifestyle. But also there's a point that some things are changed for good. Personally, I don't believe in democracy. I mean this democracy. For example, people start a business without knowing what it means. But they do it because they want to try something new. But with low prices, and when the time comes to pay taxes, many taxes they can't afford and they close it. But they already made that damage to others. Oh, do they do that? One would think people prepare for taxes. Many don't even think about it. So many places are closed now. It's because people took it easy. I don't trust any future. No rapid change. No secret solution. I think people have to learn to take it less easy when it comes to business. Perhaps I'm very hard on my people. But look, I'm realistic. Other countries are so big. Some political parties have more than 20 million members. And they can talk each other. We are 9 million and we hate our neighbors. We talk bad about each other. I'm not talking about all of us, but some. And that some of them, they cause the damage. Not about me. Because there are only 8 retreaders now in Greece, that's not a lot. It's good. From Thessaloniki and all northern Greece is my area. There used to be another 2, but they closed. factory trade factories, but very old and bad quality. Cannot afford against me, hey? Of course. I like it 'cause people prefer what I do, na ha 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 ha. I love capital controls. Because they pay me immediately.
I'm not anything more than a responsible citizen, lazy, not caring about politics that much, and generally uninterested in things that affect others. So, of course, there is the question that must be answered, I guess. Why am I making this film about a Greek crisis? How does it affect my life? What sort of problems do I have that makes me raise awareness about this situation that Greece and Europe are in at the moment? Well, the answer is quite simple. It doesn't matter if Greece goes bankrupt. Other than worrying about my friends in Greece, it has absolutely no effect on my life. I'm from Hungary, a very small country in the eastern part of the European Union. This is not the richest country in Europe. It is not in the Eurozone. And other than accepting the European Union's funds to build motorways and other projects, it does not contribute significantly to the EU's life. Not even if there are refugees all along our borders. We simply build a fence. I have no comment on that. Of course, I could think that if Greece goes bankrupt, maybe the funds will stop coming to Hungary, but we made sure to stop it on our own. No worries. Our government makes sure of that with stupid decisions. Do I think that in the future we Hungarians as a nation could learn from the mistakes that Greece made in the past? Again, no. We are very different, and Greece is not an example that should or should not be followed by others. So then why? I guess it's sort of educational. This film could show people, whoever is going to watch it in the future, what goes on in the head of ordinary citizens in the EU. Since I have always regarded humanity as one species, no matter where I have traveled in the past, I have found that people are people everywhere. Language and culture do not matter. It's all based on one single undeniable fact that we are humans, with our love and hatred, reason and stubbornness. We always throw everything we've got towards life.
Nothing special since I lived before in Hungary, and I just settled my studio in Thessaloniki 5 months ago. It is a bit short time to understand something. For sure there is the graffiti in Thessaloniki and Athens, which talk long about the past event in the street, the despair of many persons today, the ones who lost their job, their home, even sometimes someone who committed suicide. The graffiti are often sad or violent. But the beauty of the city, the easy life in this country, thanks for the always sunny weather, the cool attitude of Greek persons too. All make me feel good, and I will stay here. I don't expect to make any money here for two reasons. First, like in Budapest, the city is not ready to exhibit my paintings. A city like Berlin or in California, where most of my collectors live, I would have more chance to see my art in galleries. Second, I don't want to take the place of a Greek painter who could earn money and make a living while I am a foreigner. Internet allows me to stay anonymous and far from the Greek society somehow. However, I feel really concerned by what is happening now and which is not finished. Since we will have elections soon here to see what's next, because Syriza's government, in my opinion, fucked up. The leader did his job, he stayed quiet, finally did the unfair and dangerous European requests. Even if the people said no to that. I more respect the real left-wing personalized by the Justice Minister, who is determined not to give up about the no at the referendum. I think the next months will see more demonstration, as many students and people will understand how bad is the choice of their leader. I will leave Thessaloniki during the winter to make a bike tour of southern Europe up to south of Spain with the spirit of supporting the human approach of the refugees. Recent events, painting them, trying to understand what's happening, and I think the crisis had a big part in the indifference of Europe during weeks when they crossed the border with only their hate lot of professional soldiers and police to stop them crossing.
So, I hope that maybe future people could learn more about what's going on here without involving experts, because their biggest accomplishment is that they don't agree with each other. Some say that Greece will go bankrupt. Some say that Greece will leave this crisis soon. Every year I hear different things, and sometimes, very rarely, there is some reporter who asks someone seemingly randomly who has some sort of problem, lost something because of the crisis, and somehow it always seems scripted. We can't learn from tragedy alone. We have to hear the good and the bad alike. And then perhaps we can arrive to some sort of conclusion. And so, again, there are all sorts of questions that arise because of this point I'm trying to make. One of these questions is, what sort of scientific method am I using in the making of the film, especially when it comes to research? Of course, as always, chaos is my friend. It is unimaginable to meet each and every Greek, because there are millions, and it would be insane for other citizens of the EU to try and force them to have an opinion and share it with me. We are talking nearly 600 million people, and not to mention the rest of the world. If I truly want to be objective or thorough, I would have to visit each and every one of the 7 billion people currently inhabiting this planet. That is unthinkable. So, random. Random seems like a nice word. It's a very lazy option, which fits quite well into my ordinary citizen life. So that's what I did, and what I always do. I looked to my friends, friends of friends, and people mostly from couchsurfing.org. And every time I talked to someone, I always learned something new that seemed quite important. And this film is the sum of what these people, including myself, think about the crisis and its effects on Greece, the European Union, and the world. And hopefully you, dear viewer, will find it interesting and maybe even arrive to your very own conclusions about life, the universe, and everything.
The crisis has been in Greece since 2010. Didn't just happen now. So the effect of it has been gradually growing on us. My friends got fired, people would go out less, suicides had increased. Personally, it didn't affect me right away. I was one of the lucky to experience crisis the past few years. The elections are in 2 weeks. The situation is kind of stable. We're basically voting on who can serve the memorandum better than the other. Yesterday my friend called me. She said she found a job. I said, "Yay, lucky you." No, don't be happy, she said. It's an office job, full-time and with €400 per month. That's cool. Not so much. 400 and your rent is still 200. And all the things in supermarket and generally are going up. But anyway, that's not the problem. At the very first day at work, her boss asked her for sex. And she called me and crying. He said there are 100 people who want that job. So I will hire the one who needs it the most. And yes, I want sex every day, because my wife just had a baby and she can't have sex. This horrible, like you have become a prostitute for €400. But it's not only her, I mean it's not the first time I hear something like this. This is Greece now, I guess.